everyone, welcome back to Opinions That Matter. Today we get an opportunity to speak to Mr. Amrut Medekar, who's at the helm of operations for Vocard India. Sir, welcome to Opinions That Matter. Uh, I'd like to talk about Mythicobal today. The brand has been around for many years now, and if I understand this correct, we are the ones who have created the concept of Mythicobalamin in the market. Please tell us about the journey of Mythicobal in India.
So essentially, it's an interesting question to answer, and Methicobal has been there in the market for the longest time. I think the first brand to enter in the market, and it all has been through effective communication, which is done by the MRs in clinic, and more importantly, the clinical experience of the doctors, which they have got. Most important is since this was the first product, the establishment of concept happened via a lot of doctor group meetings and. Most importantly, the PMS trials that we started in India, because it's a global brand. It has been sold by Eisai, the parent company, for almost 37 countries. And their experience of building this brand across geographies and the globe has been pretty instrumental in establishing this concept backed by solid data. So I think safety and efficacy that we harp on for each of such products which are nutritional in nature and do provide benefits for the patients. If you have sufficient data, I think it helps in the long-term journey for the brand. Now, if you look at a competitive scenario also, there were multiple brands which got launched by different companies, and they did come with a lot of combinations as well, with different types of dosage regimens. However, we have stuck to the original dosage regimen, which is TDS globally. And eventually, we have seen that most of the doctors who switched to other brands also have come back to Methicobal with the solid trust being built over a period of time. So I think if you stick to your basics and principles for the brand and the positioning that we have done for all the three SKUs, the differentiated the communication plank as well as positioning across orthopedics, across neurologists or CPGP segment, I think that also helped us in terms of getting chronicity of prescriptions. So I think length of prescription, compliance of the patients towards the therapy, and firm belief of the doctor. I think these three helped. But as I always say, that it is not just the science behind the brand or the right pricing of the product, but what is most important is who is going to carry it. So I think the field played a lot of critical role in the success of the brand, because field was enthused, and we did a lot of CME programs, and with those CME programs, the enthusiastic participation from the doctors and the speakers and across panels across the country, I think that built a lot of confidence for our field team to have a very confident conversations with the doctors in clinic, resulting into, I think, what we see today in terms of numbers and also the brand equity.
So you just mentioned PMS. Now, a lot of brands and a lot of companies do PMS. So how are we different from that?
So I think one of the largest group of patients with largest number of centers that we engaged with, and most importantly, it is not about just the data generation, but whether the authentic data gets extracted and finally get published also into the index journal. So I think that's where our journey has been so far. And we are still continuing with that journey, even in the 20th year of Methicobal.
So also tell us about the differentiation that you've created for yourselves in the category.
For Methicobal, we as I said, that we started with a lot of science, a lot of data generation, and most importantly, the kind of right connector in terms of in-clinic conversations with the doctor, with a huge amount of confidence within team to take this brand forward. So that was one, but beside that, as I said, in terms of product quality, we ensured that we have a longer shelf life. So I think one of the few brands that you can see which is carrying a 3 years of shelf life for the product. So that talks about stability of the formulation. Second, as I said, that the entire process was robotized in terms of manufacturing. So there was absolutely no human touch which was happening. And third is the product has got unsurpassed efficacy data to back it up. So I think science did come to our rescue as far as the product is considered, and most importantly, the physical attributes.
Sir, India is a branded generic market, and in a generic market, positioning is extremely important. Mythicobal being an important and leading brand of the market, I want to take your views on positioning.
As you know that we have recently seen the example of what has happened with some of the anti-diabetic formulations, the OHS. We have seen what is happening with sitagliptin now, what is happening with the DPP4s and the SGLT2 entire family. So I think a lot of fragmentation is expected right from month one of when the product goes off patent. In this era, you will be forced to create a physical differentiation or emotional differentiation when you are able to get some kind of a anchoring in the doctor's mind. That can only happen if you're able to play differently, either in the physical characteristics of the brand, or pricing, or access to the patients, or a complete 360-degree, patient assistance program if you're able to launch it. So I think something has to play around it. Beyond that, I think in-clinic conversations with the doctors, if you're able to carry some kind of an emotional connect, I think that will go a long way in establishing and memorizing your brand name to the doctor. Otherwise, it is difficult because today, the other day when I was speaking to a diabetologist, he is listening to 10 different brands of sitagliptin in a day. So how do you expect humanly possible for a doctor when you are able to see only few new diabetic cases to remember exactly your brand and prescribe it? So I think going forward, marketing is all going to center around the right positioning and access to the patient. So I think these two puzzles, if somebody is able to solve it, I think the brand building will become relatively easier.
So last but not the least, tell us about the journey that you envision for the brand in the future.
The long-term vision for the brand would be that currently it is one of the leading brands, and we would certainly look at how do we enhance our market share and become more dominant player in this market, and how do we improve our patient access. So I think it's not just about doctors prescribing our brands, but we need to ensure that our refill rates are higher, because this is a relatively a chronic therapy as compared to a complete acute therapy. So how do we improve patient access for the patients, and how we are able to service them at the right time? So I think that's going to be critical. So this is what our mission is. And I think if you are able to address this, the dominance in the market and gain of market share will certainly start.
So thank you so much for this interaction. It was a pleasure speaking with you and also knowing the science and the efforts that have gone behind Methicobal. So thank you so much. Thank you so much to our audience for joining us today morning. Have a great day ahead.